How's it going, everyone? And welcome to the Fourth and Long podcast with your host, Alec Pecado, on Friday, September 20th. On today's show, I will be going over some game previews for Saturday, as well as previewing the Miami, Florida, South Florida football game for tomorrow, giving you my keys to the game for USF to beat Miami, and some other stuff too. Let's get right into the game previews. As you can see, again, I'm rocking and rolling by myself. My co-host was not able to make it. He will be back on Tuesday. We're going to start with Syracuse and Stanford. And I'm going to go the Stanford angle here, and I'm going to say the three keys for an upset for Stanford is you need to contain Kyle McCord, who has thrown for over 300 yards in the first three games of the season. If you could keep him under 300 yards, I think you have a really good shot, a really good opportunity at winning this game. That's key number one. Key number two, contain Rodney Gatson and the whole entire tight end and receiver room for Syracuse. If you can do that, that's the Syracuse defense. The Stanford defense. You'll have a really winning. And then the last key is for the Stanford offense. Run the football. Run the ball. Establish the run. That is the only way you probably win this game, is if you keep the ball out of Kyle McCord's hands. Next, we go to Illinois in Nebraska. For Illinois to pull the upset, they need to contain Dylan Raiola. If they can contain Dylan Raiola, they will have a really good chance at winning this game and upsetting Nebraska. If they can't contain him, it's going to be an issue all night then. And then for Illinois on offense, run the football. Run the ball and continue to run it even if you don't have success. Because what that does is it chews the clock and it minimizes the opportunity for Nebraska to get the football back. And no, the one thing is here, no dumb penalties. Illinois, no stupid penalties. If a guy's going to hit one of your guys, walk away. Don't get goaded into taking a penalty. For Nebraska to avoid the upset, play smart football. Don't turn the ball over. And on defense, force Illinois into bad throws. We've seen Luke Altmaier before. Good quarterback, but if he gets pressured, he makes bad decisions. Next, we got Clemson and NC State. I skipped Ohio State Marshall because I don't see a way where Marshall pulls the upset. So, North Carolina State, Clemson. And if you haven't heard the news, North Carolina State, Grayson McCall, it seems he's out injured. So, North Carolina State's going to be starting C.J. Bailey, a true freshman at quarterback. And I'm going to give them two keys, one offense, one defense. On offense, for North Carolina State, get your quarterback comfortable. This is his first collegiate start. Short passes and run the football. And on defense, if you want to beat Clemson, contain Cade Klubnik. Hold him under 300 yards passing. Under 300 yards passing. If you can do that, I think you have a really good shot at winning. Oh, the next game we are going to preview is, yes, I'm going down a lot, is Michigan and USC. Now, you saw who I picked earlier in the week, so I'm going to go with USC here. And for them to beat Michigan, Miller Moss has to have a very efficient day. And now I realize that USC is favored, but it wasn't that way when the week started. Michigan was favored by, I think, 3. But I'm still taking USC. But again, Miller Moss has to have a really good game for USC to win. And they have to limit the negative plays on offense and cause Michigan to throw 2 or 3 interceptions or maybe fumble it a couple of times. And that's the way USC wins. Michigan, to pull the upset, they have to play an almost perfect game, which I don't know if they could do. If you look at their offense, they're starting Alex Orji, which scares me to a whole nother level. It scares me to the point where I don't know if Michigan can pull the upset. And the last game preview is Notre Dame and Miami of Ohio. For Miami to pull, for the Red Hawks to pull the upset, they're a 28-point underdog. We saw this 2 weeks ago when Notre Dame played Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois was in the same spot, 28-point underdog. They hung around with Notre Dame and beat Notre Dame. I think Miami can do the same thing if they play smart football, don't turn the ball over, and they force turnovers and don't take stupid penalties. And now I'm going to give you my keys for a USF upset over Miami. Key number 1, Byron Brown needs to be involved in the run game early and often for USF. If you've watched any South Florida football games this year, you see Byron Brown is always a part of the run game. And I think he needs to be a big part of the run game this week against Miami. If he is, I think there's a good chance USF sticks around and they milk the clock and they don't give Miami a lot of possessions. Key number 2 for a USF win, limit turnovers. If you can stay positive in the turnover department and not turn the ball over at all, then you're going to have a good chance of winning. Same thing on defense. Opposite on defense. On defense, force Miami into interceptions, fumbles, bad penalties to back them up. And key number 3, get Sean Atkins involved early in the game. If you can do that, I think that you're going to have a really good shot at beating Miami. And I will be giving you a score prediction for most of the Saturday games tomorrow morning. But now we get to, I'm going to talk a little bit about North Carolina State and their quarterback, CJ Bailey. I think Grayson McCall's hurt, but I haven't seen anything on him being hurt. Maybe they're benching him, which is surprising if they are, because I always thought he was a good quarterback. He was a really good quarterback at Coastal Carolina. And I I'm guessing he's probably hurt, and that's the reason he's not playing this week. And they're going to CJ Bailey, which again, like I said in the game preview, he's a true freshman, and he's making his first start for NC State. If any of y'all, just a public service announcement to all the college football players and coaches. If you watch the show, take the advice I'm about to give you, North Carolina, Dave Doran. Make it easy on your true freshman quarterback. Don't make it hard. Make it easy on him. Short passes, 5 to 10 yards downfield, and run the football. Because if you want to keep the ball away from Clemson, that's what you got to do is run the football, throw short, intermediate passes, and then occasionally you could go over the top. But that's what I'm going to – that's where I stand if you're starting a freshman quarterback, a true freshman at that. And some exciting news. We start the week 1-0 in our upset picks. South Alabama upset Appalachian State last night. And we called that on the show Monday. No, I think it was either Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday we called it on the show. It's either Tuesday or Wednesday we called it, and we said App State was going to lose to South Alabama. I have a couple community polls up. One of them is who should Florida's starting quarterback be, which we've talked ad nauseum about on the show, and I might go into talking it a little bit about it more. And also, should the other community poll that's up is how many games should we pick every week for college football? Should we pick every game, or should we keep it to 7 games per conference? But I'm going to briefly, again, talk about the Florida quarterback situation. So, as most of y'all know, Graham Mertz is the starting quarterback at Florida right now. And I have my doubts about that. They have a 5-star kid on the roster, and DJ Lagway, and it seems that everybody agrees with me that he should be starting for Florida, and it should not be Graham Mertz. And I just don't understand. I don't get why Billy Napier is out here saying that Graham Mertz is still going to be the starter when healthy. We all know that Graham Mertz is not a particularly good quarterback, and I think DJ Lagway needs to start. I already called for Peyton Thorne to get benched earlier in the season, and he did, and Hank Brown is now the starter at Auburn. And I think that's going to benefit Auburn, just like it can benefit Florida to play DJ Lagway the rest of the season. Because if you don't, I think there's a slight chance he jumps in the transfer portal and goes somewhere else after the season. And if he does, believe me and my co-host will make a video on it. But I do think Graham Mertz should not be starting at Florida. It should be DJ Lagway. And to become an MVP, all you have to do for college football or NFL on this channel is subscribe. That's the only thing you have to do to become an MVP is subscribe. We're having a really good year with our upset picks, game picks, and picks against the spread in college football. We're struggling in the NFL, but that's neither here nor there right now. We're focusing in on college football right now. And I'm going to say this. I'm surprised Billy Napier still has his job at Florida after that embarrassing loss to Texas A&M last week. I think if they lose a couple more games, like if they lose to Mississippi State this week, his hot seat gets it way more hot. Like, it's already burning right now. It might be flaming hot if they lose to Mississippi State. And if they keep losing, I think he might get fired. And I'll give you a bold prediction, even though bold predictions are tomorrow. I think if he gets fired, they go out. I'm laughing because I don't think this happens. I think they go out and they try to poach either Brian Hartline away from Ohio State, or they try to poach Dion away from Colorado. Even though I don't think Dion will end up at Florida because he's an FSU alum, I think there's a better chance that Dion ends up at Florida State if Norvell gets fired. And believe me, if Mike Norvell gets fired, I think Norvell will find another, whether it be in the group of five, because there is going to be coaches that do get fired, or a Power 4 conference, which I think, again, there's teams in the Power 4 that might lose their coach too, either getting poached or gets fired. Maybe Norvell goes to, if Sam Pittman does get fired, I don't think Bobby Petrino is everybody says Bobby Petrino is the scapegoat at Arkansas. I don't think he is. I think if Sam Pittman gets fired, they try to find a new head coach, and maybe they go after Mike Norvell if he gets let go by FSU. But again, that's probably going to wrap up today's episode of the Fourth and Long podcast. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications and comment down below what college football head coach you think gets fired first. And please remember that if you have any questions, reach out to me on Twitter at AlexCFB and I will answer your questions. Have a great Friday.